In today's video, I played the biggest pot of my entire life, a pot of nearly $9,000. I have to beat 3 different opponents to win the hand. All I can tell you guys is I got it in good. It's just a typical Monday in downtown Dallas. There's no crazy games running on a Monday, except for one. There's a private game in downtown Dallas that I played many of times. I don't remember it playing this wild. I'm not exaggerating to you guys. There was literally 25 all-ins in the first 2 hours, maybe more. It felt like every time I looked up, somebody was all in. Now, the good thing about a game like this is if you run good, you can win piles and piles of money. But if you run bad, you could lose a down payment on a house. And if you stay the whole night, you could probably lose a freaking car. Now I have one goal. Get in there, play good, run good, get it in good, and hopefully hold. And then get out. That's the plan. For the first hour, I play like 4 hands maybe, lose them all, and I'm already stuck $200. But then I look down at King, Queen of Diamonds on the button. Mason opens a 35 from under the gun, folds to me. Could definitely get behind a 3-bet here, but you gotta understand this. People are going all in literally every other hand. So if I raise, I'm like 90% sure somebody's gonna jam. So I decided to play a little conservative and just call. And of course, Nick in the big blind 3-bets to $130. Mason just calls. It's back on us now. Now I know I just said I want to play this hand conservative, but let's be honest. Nick probably has like 3-4 suited at best. Mason probably has a pocket pair, so this seems like a great spot to go all in and pick up a lot of dead money. So I go all in for almost $800. Nick folds as expected, but Mason goes in the tank. Now, if Mason calls, I'm like 98% sure he has a pocket pair and we're going to be flipping. And do I really want to be flipping this early in the session? I guess so, because I did 4-bet jam pre-flop. It doesn't matter, though, because Mason folds. Exactly 1 orbit later, we pick up a premium, Ace-King. Mason puts on the $25 straddle, and there's an open to 100. Now, with the premium like Ace-King, a 3-bet is almost mandatory here, no matter how many times you miss a flop with it. So I make it 225, and this really narrows down the field because Nick calls, Mason calls, and so does Dusty. So we are 4 ways to a pathetic flop of 8, 9, 10. So I'm pretty much done with this hand, but Nick bets $40 into a $900 pot. Mason and Dusty obviously call, and I am literally getting 25 to 1 on a call, so I basically have to call. I call, but I'm still kind of done with the hand until the turn comes and changes everything. It's the ace of clubs, so I go from wanting to throw my hand in the garbage to wanting to get all my chips in the middle as fast as possible. Nick turns into a donation station and bets $700. Mason and Dusty both fold, and it's on me, and there's really not much to think about. I go all in for $820. Nick obviously calls. We're heads up to a river, and it sucks. It's the Queen of Hearts. Any jack makes a straight, but Nick has 8-7 for bottom pair. No good, brother. We're getting a full double up and then some. No, I thought after that double up, we'd get on a heater and build a massive stack, but instead, for the next 3 hours, we literally just bleed money. We get some really playable hands and basically lose with 90% of those hands. Sometimes that's enough to send someone on tilt. Now, I'm not there just yet, but I can feel myself getting really impatient. I just need to find a spot to make a move, and we finally get one. I look down at pocket fives in middle position. The $25 straddle has been on pretty much every single hand, so open to 60. The player to my left 3-bets to 175. The big blind cold calls, and it folds back to me. I'm getting a really good price to set mine, so I flick in the call. The flop comes 3-6-4 rainbow. This is about as good of a flop as we could have asked for without flopping a set. The big blind checks, I check, and the hijack bets $125. The big blind basically snap calls, and the action's back on me. We have a pair and an open-ended straight draw. This feels like a perfect spot to raise. I think the big blind probably has a middling pocket pair that would fold to a raise, but my only concern is the hijack. He could definitely have an overpair, but even if he does, we'll have at least 10 live outs. I put in a raise to $525. I don't even have to sweat for a second because they both snap fold. 20 minutes later, we pick up a premium, ace-queen suited. I open to 30 from under the gun, and the +1 3-bets me for the 20th time tonight and makes it 100. Folds over to the cutoff, and he 4-bets to 315. Then the button cold calls to 315, and it folds back to me. I have ace-queen suited. There's already close to 800 in the middle. We're out of position to all the other players, so I think there's only two options. I can either jam or fold. There's just too many hands that have us dominated that any of these players could have, so I decided to find a better spot to get all my money in the middle, and I fold. And thank God I did. The +1 ends up calling, and the flop comes ace-queen 8. Now you're probably thinking we just made a horrible fold, right? But just wait, okay? Just wait. The flop checks through, and the turn comes the 6 of hearts. Action checks to the button, who bets $700. The +1 jams for $2,200, and the cutoff calls for his remaining $1,400, and the button calls for the $2,200. The river comes the king of spades, and I literally can't make this up. The button shows pocket 6s for a turn set, the cutoff shows pocket kings for a rivered set, and the +1 shows jack 10 of spades for a rivered royal flush. That was actually the most insane hand I've ever witnessed, and I'm just glad we weren't in there.
Welcome to the Chrissy, brother.
Holy.
Alright, buddy.
Hey, man, take a little quarter, brother.
At this point of the night, I'm getting pretty tired and planning to leave unless something crazy happens. And then something crazy happens. We've been doing a dealer choice game once every orbit, and for this orbit, the person chose 5-card PLO high-low. I suck at PLO, and I suck even more at PLO high-low. If you don't know what the low means for high-low, it means whoever has the absolute worst hand gets half the pot. But there has to be 3 unique cards on the board, 8 and below, for there to even be a low. Otherwise, whoever has the best PLO hand wins the entire pot. Now, we look down at ace, ace, king, king, queen, double suited. An absolutely amazing hand if we were just playing regular PLO. Unfortunately, it's not even possible for us to have a low at this hand, so let's just hope there isn't one. There's a few limps before someone pots it for $65. 7 of us call. So we're 8 ways to a flop, and the flop comes ace high. We have the absolute nuts, and there's no possible low just yet. It checks to me, I check, hoping somebody else will pot it so I can repot it and get rid of all these players, and that's exactly what happens. The player to my left pots it for $520. It folds over to the big blind, and he calls the $520. Then the +1 repots it for a little over $2,200. I go all in for just over $2,000. The player to my left calls, and the big blind calls for his remaining $1,800. So we're 4 ways to a run out with the absolute nuts at the moment in the biggest pot of my life. All we need is for the board to pair and for no more cards under an 8 to come out. The turn is the jack of diamonds, giving us the nut straight with a straight flush draw. The river is the 9 of spades, which means we have the absolute nuts and there's no possible low. The player to my left shows queen 9 for a lower straight. The other 2 players muck. We show the nuts, and we're scooping the biggest pot of our entire life.
My favorite dealer ever. Thank you.
I think you're there.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, we're out of here, boys. We're out of here.
He had piles of chips after that hand, and I was thinking that was it for me. We're at more money than we've ever been in our entire life, and my game plan is just to play tight, book our biggest win, and go home. But then we look down at pocket queens. I've never not wanted to see pocket queens more in my life. There's an open to $100, I 3-bet to $300, and of course the player to my left 4-bets to $750. Nick cold calls from the cutoff because he just wants to ruin my night, and it folds back to me. Now I know Nick has absolute trash, and the player to my left has been re-raising me all night, so he could be doing this pretty light. Both players cover me, and I genuinely don't want to make the pot any bigger than it already is. But I also don't want to just call and be lost on almost every flop. I don't know what the right move is here, but I just call praying to see a queen on the flop. But that's not what we get. The flop is 5, jack, 6, 2 spades. This is exactly the kind of board we did not want to see. I almost wish the board came ace high so I could just check fold and not feel like a complete nit. I check, and the player to my left continues for $600. Nick snap jams for $6,000. What is going on? Nick can easily have a set on this board, and there's still a good chance the player to my left could have an overpair. But we have pocket queens on a jack high board. If I were to call and win in this spot, I'd be up over $15,000. I think about it for almost a full minute, but I just can't get myself to stick in the call. I fold. The player to my left folds as well, and Nick shows 8-5 of spades for a flush draw. We decided to run it out to see what would have happened, and Nick would have rivered a flush. So even though we made an incorrect fold, we saved ourselves $8,000, and I am perfectly fine with that.
Appreciate it.
Well, that went pretty well. In the game, 4,000 out for this. And this is $7,500 that I am waving around in a dark parking lot, which is not recommended. So we'll make this quick. I just won $6,500 in 5 hours. Literally a year and a half ago, I was scared to buy in for $500 to a 1-2 game. Fast forward to today, a year and a half later, I'm winning $6,500 in one session. That blows my mind. That blows every expectation that I had. Yeah, that was crazy. That game was insane. Those hands were insane. Yeah, that was crazy. I can't really think straight right now, so we're just gonna end it here. If you watched to the very end, drop a fist emoji. Let me know you're rocking with me up to this point. Thank you guys. Like, comment, share, subscribe. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.